Darkness. That's all that seemed to greet you. You're not sure where you are or what's going on, but one thing that you do know is that your arms and legs are bound, leaving you completely immobile. It was then that you noticed that you were laying on something soft, like some sort of furniture, and last but not least, that you're naked. You try to piece some more information together, but a dim light flashes above you, almost blinding you from its sudden appearance. You blink away some of the spots in your vision before looking up to see a massive glowing crystal looming over your head, high up in the ceiling. Its light shines just enough to illuminate over you, but only up to a few feet away, still leaving the room quite dark. You look around yourself to see that you are indeed naked, lying on a large spacious bed, your arms and legs tied down to the 4 bedposts by a strange, gooey green substance. The 4 bedposts reached up high, creating a veiled canopy and making it even more difficult to make out what's beyond the bed, roaming around in the dark. What the hell? You muttered to yourself, tugging at the slimy restraints, noticing that the strange substance seemed to stretch a few inches, but not giving any room to break free. Ah, so you're awake. A beautiful, velvety voice spoke up with a slight echo, almost seeming as if 2 people were talking at once. "Who's there?" you called out. "I must say, you truly are something." The echoing voice spoke again, your mind quickly registering that your host is female. "It took my grunts quite some effort to take you down. I didn't think a human would give him so much trouble." Your mind quickly remembers what's going on, and, most likely, who your host is. What can I say? I'm usually not one to disappoint, Queen Chrysalis. Beyond the silky veil and ambient darkness, something pierces through the both of them. A pair of emerald green slitted eyes. The sound of footsteps began to sound, echoing ever so slightly as the queen drew closer. It wasn't for a few more seconds that her figure came into view, and even less before she finally stood in the light, finally revealing herself. Before you stood the Changeling Queen, Chrysalis. She adorned a black robe with edges lined in the same emerald green as she, both contrasting her dark ebony skin. Her big, full lips curled up into a wicked smile, showing her sharp fangs, her long, gnarled, jagged black horn protruding through the sea of green, black, lengthy hair. "No, you most certainly don't. I expected nothing less from the Hero of Equestria." "So, what is this?" you calmly inquire. "Where are my men?" "Oh, don't you worry about them," she said, waving off your warrior as she drew closer. "My changelings are keeping them quite entertained." "So you expect me not to worry about your underlings raping mine?" "Rape is such a harsh word. It implies that your men are enjoying themselves. And from their screams of pleasure, I assure you they're quite content." She replied with warm but sinister smile as she reached the bed. "What do you want from me?" "Isn't that obvious?" she asked, using her magic to open the veil, allowing her to stand upon the bed and sultrily walk towards you. When she finally reaches you, she stood between your spread legs, and with a motion of such elegance and grace, she shed her robe, revealing her voluptuous form to you. Up close, it was no surprise that she stood at least a head taller than you. Her narrow shoulders winded down her hourglass frame, the robe now hanging off her thin, slender arms. She pressed her buxomous D-sized breast forward as she widened her stance, her long, beautiful legs adding another aspect to her beauty. She wore a pair of black micro bikinis, of which the bra was of a teardrop design, the fabric barely covering her bits, her areolas more than visible through the sides of the fabric, and even more so with the matching pair of teardrop panties, which was doing no more of a good job hiding her pretty pink pussy as it eagerly dug in between her lips, which contrasted perfectly against her black skin. You knew what was to come, and you certainly didn't want any part of it, as your fighting instincts kicked in, and you started tugging against your restraints. Chrysalis giggles at your struggle as she informs you. You're wasting your time. The goo is strong enough to hold a crumbling building together. You'll never break free. Well, I'm certainly not gonna just sit here and be your toy, you growl back, huffing as you give up your struggle. For the moment. Why not? I do take such good care of my toys, she cooed innocently. Let's play for a while, and you'll find that out personally. No way in hell, you tell her, glaring at her with blatant defiance. That's so cute, she purrs, staring back at you with glowing, lidded eyes. You make it sound like you have a choice in the matter. With that discussion over, the queen looked down at your flaccid member, licking her lips in anticipation. It certainly is a bit different from what I'm used to, but I'm sure the reactions will be the same as any male. Before you can say anything, the changeling pulls her bare foot up and presses it up from under your member, pushing it up until it rested against your abdomen. She smiles as she pushes the limp meat between her toes and begins stroking it up and down its shaft. You growl at her, and then yourself as you feel your body starting to react to the soft touch of her flesh. Chrysalis giggles a bit as she feels your dick slowly growing between her toes. Oh, what's this? Are you actually getting aroused by my feet? She asked in a taunting voice. You give no verbal response and simply started struggling again. But with your gooey restraints holding you in place, you could only let her continue, uninterrupted. I was only doing this to mess with you, but I didn't think you would actually start getting hard from it. Do you like my feet? Do they feel good? Screw you, you bark back. Don't worry. That's coming up later, she assured you, before taking a seat between your legs, pulling her other foot up to join the other as she used them to slowly stroke your steadily growing member. For now, let's have some fun with this. I wonder if you'll come. Won't that be fun? The famed Hero of Equestria ejaculating from the Queen of the Changelings' feet. Huh, that would be a sight to behold. Damn it, you growl as your mind tries to find a way to break free, looking around the bed for anything that might help. I gotta get loose. I can't just sit here and let her have her way with me. But this damn goo is too strong. It won't give me an inch. Shit, it's gotta be some... You're pulled from your thoughts as groans of pleasure escapes you. Chrysalis's techniques was finally beginning to take its toll on you. She chuckles in her throat, watching as you squirm under her touch, your dick already starting to stand tall and proud. Wow, you're a lot bigger than I thought you'll be. But that just means that there's more of you to play with. She then changed her tactics as she placed her right foot on the tip of your cock, rubbing her toes against your sensitive head, while using her remaining foot to fondle your ballsack. You can't help it as your body shivers at the sudden change of sensations. You can no longer deny that what she's doing feels good. No, snap out of it. Don't let her control the flow. Focus. I have to get free, you tell yourself. Ooh, look at that delicious pre dripping from your tip. It's making my foot all sticky. It's like your cock's trying to get me back to tying you down. She teases you, pulling her foot away to examine the slick sheen of your excretion between her toes. Judging from how heavy your balls are, you're pretty backed up. What's the matter? Is Princess Sunbutt not letting her precious hero get his rocks off? That's no good. I would never deny my children from release like that. That's just too cruel, even for me. Keep talking. When I get loose, you're gonna regret it. You growl at her. Tough words from a man completely bound and drenching my beautiful feet with his dirty cock. She rebutted with a sarcastic smirk. Oh, she's gonna get it, you think to yourself, going back to tug on your bindings. You're persistent, I'll give you that, she mockingly stated before looking back down at your member. How about I change things up again? Giving you no room to reply, you feel a new wave of pleasure passing through your body as she takes her feet and toes and starts rolling them over your tip. Your back arches slightly before a moan breaks free. Chrysalis's eyes were beaming in delight from the sound. Ah, such a cute little moan I just heard, she squeals happily. I want to hear it again. Come on, make more embarrassing noises. She doubles her efforts, doing her best to get you to break down, but you held fast. That moan was the first and last thing she was going to hear from you. You tried your damnedest to ignore the incredible pleasure by going back to trying to break your bonds. But Chrysalis just ignored your thrashings and continues to tease you. You kept tugging and pulling with all your might, and you start to think that your efforts were truly in vain, until you hear something. A nearly inaudible crack catches your ear. You look to the right headboard post and see a crack in the wood. That's it. I've been thinking about this all wrong, you think, a realization smacking you right in the face. Alright, now I got a game plan. You continue struggling your other limbs, hoping to get at least one other post to crack, and from what you hear over Chrysalis's laughing, your left leg managed to crack the bedpost it's attached to as well. Great, now it just... Your thoughts quickly ended as you felt pressure growing inside you, demanding to be set free. A toothy grin spread itself across the queen's face as she felt your member throbbing between her feet. Oh, are you finally going to come? I almost thought you never would. It's not good to hold it in, you know, she tells you, the haughtiness in her voice still unchanged. You grit your teeth as you feel your payload about to arrive. I'm gonna... Nope, Chrysalis said blatantly as she swiftly pulled her feet from your cock, leaving it throbbing and twitching, anxious for release. What the hell? You snap. You said you wouldn't deny someone's release. Oh, I wouldn't. But letting you blow your load just once is unacceptable, she casually said as she began crawling over you, causing your body to shiver as her nipples slowly, gently glide over your toned stomach. When she finally reached you, she stayed hovering over you, face to face, her emerald green eyes piercing your own, her confident smile not wavering for a second. You could smell the aroma of pure lust that was flowing off of her and over to you, and it was almost mind-numbing. Almost. You quickly steeled yourself as you glared back into her eyes. That's impressive as well. Not many can resist a queen's pheromones so well, she commented. Tell me, did you know a changeling's venom acts as an aphrodisiac? Yeah, I knew that. Did you know also that the queen's venom is 10 times as potent? Your eyes widen in shock as she grins malevolently at you, her fangs gleaming under the crystal light. Yes, my venom won't just turn you on. You'll be so hard and your balls will be so full that you'll be nothing more than a horny little animal. You'll want nothing more than to ravage me and pour all your delicious love into me, over and over again. Won't that be fun? She slowly inched herself closer, baring her fangs as she closed the distance. You turned your head away out of instinct, not thinking clearly enough to realize that's exactly what you wanted. In a quick flash, you felt a searing pain in your neck as Chrysalis sunk her teeth into you. You shout in pain before you feel the venom entering your body, and with your heart racing, you knew that the venom was now coursing through your entire body. You could already feel the heat rising, the blood pumping, and the good portion of it heading south. Your hormones were skyrocketing, and with them, your dick was becoming harder, thicker, and veinier than ever before, and your balls felt like they were swelling up to the size of oranges. Chrysalis retracted her fangs and pulled herself away, sitting up on her knees, straddling your chest as she looked down at your lust-addled form. She laughed as she watched you squirm, the venom running its way through your system. You grit your teeth, growling like a rabid beast. The venom was strong, but your will was stronger still. Gah, this venom is no joke, I swear. I just want to stick this stiff thing inside her and turn her insides out. But first, I gotta get free. Chrysalis giggled lightly as she watched your body tremble under the effects of her venom. She looked over her shoulder and saw your rock-hard phallus twitching and throbbing erratically, gushing a steady stream of pee down its shaft. She pressed her round ear back against your dick, pressing it between her cheeks and rubbing it against them. You groan under the sensation of her plump-ass cheeks rubbing against your overly sensitive member, while you try your best to control your urges. Not bad, you commented, staring into your eyes. It's one thing to fight my pheromones, but another to fight my venom. You should be nothing but a horny, drooling mess, but you're still resisting. I'm going to enjoy breaking you. Hearing that last part seemed to finally set you off, and with your body working itself into overdrive, your adrenaline finally kicks in, giving you the final strength you needed. With a loud yell and a strong tug, a loud crunch echoed through the room, as the posts that were tied to your right arm and your left leg finally gave way. Chrysalis shrieked in surprise and fear as the canopy came down atop the two of you, and in that moment of confusion, you quickly pulled your other limbs free. The strange goo still wrapped around your wrists, but now free from the dismantled bedpost. You pulled yourself out of the silky veil and looked around until you spotted a struggling lump moving around underneath them. You quickly grabbed the cloth and pulled it, revealing a startled Chrysalis staring up at you. She chuckled slightly, the look of justified fury obviously striking some fear into her. Okay, so you managed to get loose, she said nervously, slowly beginning to back away from the bed. I certainly did not expect that. Oh, I'm sure you didn't. You glare down at her as you slowly follow her. You think you can just tie someone down, humiliate them, and think there won't be any repercussions if they break free? Chrysalis watched you with fear as you grabbed the veil in your hand and slowly wrapped it around them. And before she knew what was going on, you pounced on her. She screamed, struggling to break free, but you weren't having any of it. You would have your revenge, and when all was said and done, you stood up and looked down at your handiwork. Chrysalis was lying on her back. Her arms were bound behind her back, securely tied with a thick, torn portion of the silk veil. Well, how the tables have turned, you chuckled, glaring down at her with a toothy smirk. How dare you treat a Changeling Queen so disrespectfully? She growls at you. Release me this instant. No, don't worry. I'll release you as soon as I get mine. You tell her, your massive hard-on twitching anxiously. Chrysalis gasped as you quickly straddled her midriff, placing your dong just under her massive chest. Get off of me, you overgrown ape, she demanded. That's not a very nice way to treat a hero, now, is it? You asked quite calmly, your right hand drifting down to her right breast as you do so. Your fingers now inches away from the thin and black fabric, trying to hide her perky nipple. Where's the respect? Your fingers quickly grasped her nipple through the bra and tightly pinched it, causing the queen to shriek at the sudden roughness. You continued to twist and pull at the fleshy nub, watching the ebony beauty ride underneath you. Not so much fun when you're the one on the receiving end, huh? You inquire. Your eyes quickly wandered to her breast's lonely twin, and not wanting it to feel left out, you reach over with your free hand and pinched her remaining nipple between your fingers, earning a slight moan. No, stop. It hurts, she pleaded. That's interesting, you reply with a mocking tone. You say that, but I can feel your nipples getting harder and harder between my fingers. Does the lovely queen of changelings like it rough? What? That's ridiculous. You think you could possibly make me feel good like this? She snapped back. Big talk coming from a woman who's moaning from her nipples being twisted so roughly, you stated, giving both her pink buttons a hard twist. A loud, earnest moan escaped Chrysalis's mouth, her cheeks burning bright red, both from pleasure and embarrassment. You couldn't help but smile while watching the defenseless queen ride and struggle beneath you, especially with the tantalizing view of her jiggling breasts, bouncing wonderfully as she moved. But despite the fun you were having by teasing her, your dick was still painfully hard, and you couldn't hold off any longer. You needed to come, and the queen was going to assist you, whether she liked it or not. You released her nipples from your grasp to quickly grab the bikini top and tear it from her form, revealing her wonderful bosoms. You then took a hold of her breasts, your fingers easily melting into the dark mounds of flesh. Chrysalis moaned as you started groping and fondling them, her body squirming and her legs crossing, desperate to contain the excitement that was slowly beginning to drip down from her legs. Then you leaned in closer, planting your cock between her breasts, splatting your built-up pre between them. Chrysalis stopped struggling as she felt your member resting against her body, the musky smell of your member now assaulting her senses. She quickly averted her head to the side as she told you, "Get that thing off of me!" You didn't have any problems touching it with your feet a while ago, you stated as a cheeky grin spread on your face. Is it because you enjoy using your feet more than your breasts? How dare you, she snapped, glaring up at you. My breasts are the softest, supplest mounds you'll ever have. The pleasure of touching. Poets can't even begin to describe the ecstasy they feel when I use them. Well, I may not be a poet. Let me take a stab at it. Then we'll see if you're right. With that settled, you closed the valley of flesh, wrapping them snugly around your member. You couldn't help but shudder at the overall softness. It felt as though your dick was melting between her busts, and all it did was stir you up even more, quickly causing you to thrust almost sporadically. You groaned at the amazing fullness of her chest. There was barely a single moment your dick wasn't lost in the bountifulness of her cleavage. Holy shit. You weren't kidding. This feels amazing. Told you, Chrysalis said, her haughty tone returning. Many a male would give an arm or a leg just to touch my beautiful bosom. Count yourself lucky. If that's what they would give to touch your chest, I wonder what they'll give to have their cock in your mouth. Excuse me? The queen was cut off as you grabbed her horn, pulling her face down and jamming the head of your cock into her warm, wet mouth. You sighed contentedly as you felt the softness of her lips wrapping themselves around the first few inches of your cock. You firmly held onto her horn, keeping her in place as you continued thrusting into both her chest and her mouth. of which the muffled cries of resistance, which fell on deaf ears, merely vibrated against your head, making the forced fellatio feel even better. "What's that? I can't hear you over the sound of you sucking my dick," you mocked her openly. "If you want this to stop, you better start working that pretty mouth of yours into a more productive manner." She glares up at you, but realizes that she has no real choice, and then you feel her begin sucking and rolling her tongue around your member. You bite your lip, chuckling in your throat at how wonderful it all feels. Her breasts, her mouth, her tongue, they were all incredible. All the while, you could feel Chrysalis getting more and more into it, her sucking and licking becoming more eager and earnest. You loosen your grip on her horn, letting her suck you off on her own. "Look at you, sucking me off like a good little whore," you said in a haughty tone of your own, a familiar pressure stirring up in your loins. "You actually love sucking my dick. Huh." Mm-hmm. She replies, almost hypnotically. "Want me to come in your mouth, to fill your wet hole with my sticky cum?" Mm-hmm. She answers, sucking your dick with great vigor. With that out of the way, you start thrusting harder, feeling your climax getting closer and closer as Chrysalis sucked your member with great fervor, trying to push you over the edge. The pressure finally reached its peak, but just as you were about to shoot your payload, you pulled your member free from Chrysalis's oral cavern. The changeling's eyes widened in both surprise and fear. "No, what are you—" Her sentence ended there as you groaned, shooting a thick rope of seed across her face, causing her to gasp in surprise before another shot came and plastered her cheek, followed by another that landed on her chin. You pointed your still ejaculating member down, shooting the rest of your load onto her chest. After a few more moments, your first load was finally spent, but your dick was still hard as ever. You take a moment to catch your breath before you hear Chrysalis moaning in disappointment. You look at her as she looks herself over, seeing your sticky white cream dripping off her dark skin. "How could you? I've never met a male so wasteful before," she snapped at you. "All that love just dripping off of me." You know what they say, don't cry over spilled milk. You chuckle as you move yourself from her body, but she continues to sneer at you. "Don't worry, you're still playing more where that came from, and I'll give it to you nice and proper this time." She yelps in surprise as you quickly turn her over and pull her ass up in the air, gazing at her nice micro bikini. It was more than visibly wet. Her beautiful pink pussy glistened underneath and dripping onto the bed. "And to think that you were taken so high and mighty just a little while ago, but you're practically drooling down here," you tease her, running a finger against the bikini, digging into her supple lips. Chrysalis shrieked and shivered from your tender caress, your finger quickly becoming drenched in her nectar. "Don't tease me like that," she told you, looking over her shoulder and shaking her hips invitingly. "Come on, just shove it in. You know you want to." "You're right, I do." You nod firmly in agreement, making your way behind her, scooting forward on your knees, grabbing your member and gently rubbing the head against her soaking flower. Chrysalis's body tensed up for a moment before pushing her hips back, trying to force your dick in on her own. "You want my dick that badly?" "Yes, please. I want it inside. Ram it in hard." "Remember, you asked for it," you tell her, a devious toothy grin stretching to the corners of your mouth. You then take your hands to her plump round ass and spread her cheeks wide, revealing the tight dark star that was hidden behind the thin string of her underwear. You can feel the queen's body tense up more and more, but this time more frightfully. What are you doing?" "Giving you what you asked for," you answered, moving the micro bikini aside and aiming your member at her tight pucker, pressing your head against her opening. Now, hold on a second. We never talked about She shrieked in both pain and pleasure as you gave one powerful thrust, ramming your massive hard-on halfway in. You gave a hearty groan as you feel her tight hole climbing down onto your shaft. Man, that feels good. You chuckled happily as you massaged her ass cheeks. Damn you, she hissed at you, but your devious smirk didn't falter. What? I gave you what you wanted, you replied innocently. I didn't say stick it in there. You didn't tell me where to stick it in. You really need to be more specific next time, you replied sarcastically. You snarky bastard. I'm going to... You didn't give her time to finish before you quickly started pulling out of her, earning a hearty moan. I'm sorry. What was that? You asked before thrusting back, getting more of your member inside, making her moan once again. What? You would rather I keep thrusting? Okay. In your mischievous state, working yourself into a nice steady rhythm, letting her get used to the insertion, Chrysalis tried her best to hold in her moans. But with your constant thrusting, the stinging pain she felt was easily losing out to the pleasure. It wasn't long before you finally bottomed out inside her. Both of you moaned and groaned from the new sensation, her warm, tight hole constricting around you, and you spreading her ass wide open. Having finally completely connected to her, you grinned and began thrusting with more gusto. Your every thrust was now pushing Chrysalis' upper body against the bed, her breast now roughly rubbing against the sheets, adding to her pleasure. And just when she felt herself about to cry out in pleasure, she bit down on the bed sheets, trying to muffle her voice. You quickly noticed what she was doing, and it was absolutely adorable. You leaned over her slender back, not stopping your rhythm, and wrapped your arms around her, groping her chest. She shrieked through the sheets as she felt your hands sinking into her chest. You can feel the remnants of your last orgasm on them, but that doesn't stop you from massaging them. And you're pleased to find that your technique appears to make her moan even harder. You lean into her ear and whisper, "Look at you, getting all hot and bothered by your butt being rammed." She replied as she shakes her head, trying to retain some dignity. "Oh, you don't? Then I'm guessing you won't want a taste of this," you said as you pulled your right hand from her breast and placed it in front of her face, shoving her the thick glob of cum that were clinging to your fingers and palm. You could see her eyes light up at the sight and hear her whimpering as your jizz slowly dripped before her very eyes. "If you want a taste, you're gonna have to let the sheets go," you tell her. "You better hurry before it all drips off." No sooner than you finished your sentence did the queen let go of the sheets and attacked your hand, moaning full-heartedly as she lapped up the dripping seed. You keep thrusting steadily, letting Chrysalis enjoy the meal she sucked from your finger. So good. It tastes so good," she moaned happily. "Nice to hear," you comment. "But is that all? Nothing else you're enjoying?" You give an extra hard, deep thrust, causing Chrysalis to gasp, but she still refuses to voice her feelings. You glare at her in annoyance, before an idea popped into your head. You just love making things difficult, but I think I can make them simpler. With the changeling finished cleaning off your hand, you wrapped your arms around her waist and leaned back, pulling her with you. Chrysalis yelped in surprise as you lift her up, but you quickly released your hands, letting her go as you crashed onto your back, having her sit on your prick, now firmly nestled inside her. You could feel her shivering at the sudden change. What are you doing?" she asked, looking over your shoulder at you. Noticing that while you two swapped positions, you stopped your thrusting completely. "I can see you're not into this, so if you want to stop, you can go ahead and get off." you casually tell her. What? But I... She quickly stops herself, looking away as her cheeks seem to burn red. You smile triumphantly. You know you've won. You just have to get her to say it. Come on. Don't be shy. Go ahead. Let it out. She glances at you once more, before starting to push herself up, going further and further away from you, losing inch after inch of her tight hold around your member, only for her to drop herself back down, skewering herself back onto you, releasing a loud cry of pleasure as she did so. Ah, yes, it feels amazing. You give a toothy grin at the sight of Chrysalis moving her hips, bouncing up and down, riding your dick with total abandon. Enjoying the sight of her bounce around, her jiggling ass was almost hypnotic, and before you knew it, your hands reached out and started groping that tight, round ass. Chrysalis bit her lips, loving the attention her rear was getting. Huh, who would have guessed that the queen of the changelings is a little booty slut? I can't help it, she replied, not slowing her bouncing and grinding even a single beat. It feels too good. I never would have imagined that I could feel something so exciting from there. Yet, here you are, shaking your hips like a rattlesnake shaking its tail. You rebuked. How shameful. Such a strong, regal queen, reduced to nothing more than a common whore, riding my dick like it's nothing. But I guess that's to be expected from a glorified whore. I am not, she snaps, but she shudders slightly, her hips refusing to stop. Yes, you are, you reply. Your species can shape-shift into anyone. And for what? So you can steal love from your victim? All you're really looking for is something to stick in your cooch. You'll give it up to anyone. I'm actually surprised that there aren't a bunch of you girls roaming the streets at night, prowling for a quick roll in the hay. You're just a queen of oversexed sluts. Admit it, you demand, giving a hard slap onto her ass cheeks. Chrysalis screams at the hit, but quickly moaned and shivered at the tingling feeling that followed. Yes, it's true, she confesses. I'm a slut, queen of the whores. My changeling exists to rut anyone or anything with a dick. So please, thrust into me, pound my ass, slap it hard. I'm your little changeling whore, so give me all you've got. That's more like. You growl hungrily, gripping her hips and thrusting like a wild animal. Chrysalis cried out as you thrust deep and hard, the sound of your hips clapping against her ass cheeks, reaching both your ears, filling them with perverse pleasure, all of its own. The both of you are rutting like wild animals, and you're loving every second of it. You give her beautiful ass nice hard slaps every so often, and her cries of pleasure were raised higher with every hit, along with the tightness around your shaft. You groan as you feel yourself coming closer to coming again. Shit, I can't hold on any longer, you warn her. Me neither, she agreed, looking back at you, her eyes lit and glazed over, glowing in pure lust. Come inside me, make me come with my ass, come with me. Her constant cries spurred you on, driving you over the edge as you start pounding her harder. You gave her one final thrust, burying your cock deep inside her ass as your orgasm paints her insides white. Chrysalis arched her back again, throwing her head back as she savored the feeling of you shooting your hot seed inside her. You looked down at her exhausted form, her ass hanging in the air while her upper body laid down, basking in the afterglow of her orgasm. Her tender asshole was visibly gaping and contracting as your seed oozed out of her ass crack, now dripping over her covered, drooling pussy lips. The fabric so wet you could see her love tunnel winking viciously, as if begging to be filled as well. Being the gentleman that you are, You would certainly oblige the pleading orifice as you slowly got up. Ah, yes. No, that was wonderful. She purred, lightly shaking her ass, enjoying every single tingling sensation running through her body. You get up behind her and quickly grasp her hips. Good, because there's still more to come. Chrysalis didn't even have time to respond before you pulled her bikini out of the way and rammed your cum-covered cock deep inside her. The queen screamed as your dick plunged deep into her hot honey pot, spreading her walls wide open before quickly constricting around your member. Finally, that's what I've been waiting for, she coos before looking back at you. You're such a bad boy, keeping a lady waiting like that. I would never keep a lady waiting, you assure her, leaning over her to meet her face to face. But I make whores work for her reward. You cheeky bastard, she snapped back with a toothy smirk as you quickly leaned in, claiming her luscious lips in a passionate exchange. You didn't even have to prod your tongue. She openly accepted it, letting your wet muscle tangle with hers. The ebony woman moaned earnestly into the kiss as she felt your love washing into her like a constant wave. You pulled back, dragging her tongue from her mouth, letting them hang in the open air before gently suckling on her wet muscle. When you finally broke the kiss, her eyes were glowing brightly from the love you just so graciously gave her. Don't stand there, she said, pushing her hips against your dick. Keep going. Gladly. You start thrusting hard and fast as she screamed in ecstasy, pushing her hips back to match your rhythm. You only came twice, and you knew that with all the venom still coursing through you, you were in for a long night. Hours later, the two of you continued fucking like rabbits in non-stop heat. Neither of you could remember how many times you came, but you could tell that you were on your last legs. You're sitting at the top of the bed with Chrysalis on your lap. Your arms were wrapped around her lower back, holding her up as she rode your thrusting cock. The two of you still stared deeply into each other's eyes as your bodies melded together in a combination of sweat and various juices. You groan as you feel your cock winding up for its big finish. Ah, here it comes. Ah, the last one. Do it! Do it inside! Give me every last drop! She pleads, and just as you're about to blow, you quickly lean in and kiss her. She quickly kisses you back, loving the sweet, gentle exchange of your lips on hers. You finally can't take it anymore, and you grunt into the kiss, blowing your load deep inside her pussy. Chrysalis shrieks into your mouth as more of your seed saturates her in the walls, signaling the release of her own juices gushing forth, mixing with your own. When the last of your orgasm spurts out, you collapse back onto the bed, pulling Chrysalis down with you. The changeling now lay on your chest, the both of you panting and heaving in pure sex-induced exhaustion. You feel your dick finally deflating, and after a few more moments, your dick finally slips out of Chrysalis's pussy, and with the cork finally removed, hours upon hours of the combined sexual fluids start flooding out of her. You hear Chrysalis purr from the sensation shivering against your chest. You finally decided to untie her bonds, freeing her arms from the makeshift cuffs, to which she quickly pulls them up to your chest, resting her head under your chin as she laid in bliss. By the time the both of you finally caught your breath, you looked down at her and asked, "So, how was it?" You couldn't hide the look of surprise you had when she pulled her head up, glaring at you, incriminatingly. "What?" you asked, your brows furrowed in confusion. She doesn't answer right away. Instead, she pulls her hand up and slaps your chest hard. "Ow! What was that for?" "You know why? We never talked about doing anal before, and yet you came out of nowhere and blindsided me." "Hey, you said you wanted some rough play. I agreed. But once again, you didn't say any specifics. You explained innocently. So, to be fair, you've only yourself to blame. Come on, was it really that bad? I know it couldn't have been, considering that you were moaning like a ghost. She puffs her cheeks and turns her head to the side, trying to hide the blush in her cheeks. She's so cute when she tries to act tough. You chuckle to yourself before wrapping your arms around her. Come on, you know you liked it. You continue teasing her. Yes, I did. It felt a lot better than I expected, she admitted, looking back up at you, her cheeks burning hot. See, I know my girl. You smile as you kiss her forehead. Damn right, she said, kissing you back before looking down at the both of you. Well, since we're clearly made a mess of ourselves, why don't we get ourselves cleaned up? Your eyes widened and a look of slight annoyance took its place. No, not that, you groan. Can't we just take a bath together? Where's the fun in that? She smiles deviously as she pushes herself off of your chest. She turns over on her side and sits up, peering into the darkness before the bed. Ladies, your queen calls for you. With that said, you hear a loud boom echo across the room. And before long, two sexy-looking female changelings saunter into the room, staring at the two of you. You called, your majesty? You replied in unison, bowing respectfully. Clean us, Chrysalis authoritatively commanded, as she lay on her back, spreading her legs and exposing her body to her underlings. Yes, your majesty. The twin changelings reply with a smile before removing their garbs, exposing their body to both you and their queen. And with a few graceful strides, they reach the bed and quickly climb up onto it. The two changelings crawl up to the two of you and let their tongues free, staring at your feet and slowly licking up the sweat from your legs, carefully extracting the leftover love that was clinging to your body. You shudder slightly as Chrysalis giggles, watching you squirm, her own attendant tending to the love that was gushing from her womanhood. Admit it. You know you like it. She teases you. Yes I do. You admit as you rest back, letting the attendant work her magic. I don't know why, but this is really relaxing. See? I know my man, she mockingly said. Cute, you snipe back, glaring at her snarky expression. For you, my love, she said, leaning down over you, her hair draping over her face, her eyes glowing faintly. I'll be anything you want. I love you too, you smile back, exchanging a deep, loving kiss. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope you enjoyed. This one took a hell of a long time, and will probably be the last one I upload in a while, since, well, I have my exams and I've got a bunch of university stuff to get done and over with. But, I hope you enjoyed. This one should probably appeal to that Justin Willis guy who loves Chrysalis and everything about her. So, this one's to you. Overall, I think I did a alright job at the reading. I mean, it's been a while since I did a really long one like this, and Jesus, man. I remember exactly why I don't do them as frequently as the short ones. This one took around, 2 hours something to do? Overall, just editing and everything. So, I really hope you enjoyed, because oh man. But yeah, what do you think of the story? Any particular bits you liked the most? Any particular fetish you would like me to cover next? I don't judge other people's fetishes. I mean, you know, whoever gets your rocks off, you know, it goes. You know, whatever happens in your bedroom stays in the bedroom. Doesn't bother me. Doesn't harm me in any way. So, keep doing what you're doing. But yeah, any particular fetish you would like me to cover, please tell me in the description below. In the comment section below. Thank you so much for reading, for listening. I'm messing up my own outro. Goodbye. Oh, I'm not done yet, baby. I'm not done yet. That's disgusting. I'm sorry.